The incredible story of a poor boy who discovered a millionaire's fortune hidden in a creek. Billy Johnson was no ordinary 12-year-old. He lived in a small, tight-knit rural town where whispers of the wind told tales of old glories and buried dreams. Every day, he helped his hard-working single mother, Jane, in their modest farm, a farm that felt like it was falling apart as quickly as their hopes. Since his father, a war veteran, had left, the weight of despair clung to their lives like a stubborn cloud, overshadowing the green pastures surrounding them. Bills piled up, and hunger gnawed at their bellies, but Billy found a sliver of comfort at the nearby creek. There, he could escape his worries and let his imagination run wild. On one fateful afternoon, the sun spilled golden light across the water's surface, sparkling like diamonds. As Billy rummaged among the rocks, hoping to uncover forgotten treasures, he stumbled upon something far beyond what he could dream of. A hidden bag. The leather was worn and aged, but he could sense the promise inside. Heart racing, he opened it to reveal stacks of money and glimmering artifacts that spoke of a history long lost. Among the treasures lay a bracelet engraved with the name of their town's long-missing billionaire founder. Billy's heart pounded as he realized the enormity of his find. Word spread like wildfire through the small town, the echoes of excitement rivaling the buzz of angry bees. Gossips and glances darted about, some in awe and others filled with envy. All at once, he was thrust into a whirlwind of opinions. Should he keep this windfall that could lift his family out of rags, or should he return it to a community that had turned its back on them? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In whispers, Billy overheard the town folks debating. Some spoke of charity, urging him to give back and elevate their community. Others, cloaked in jealousy, accused him of being selfish, igniting old resentments that echoed through their laughter. His heart sank at the ugly truths surfacing like weeds in a once beautiful garden, and the absence of his father loomed larger than ever. The heated discussions only intensified the emotional grip that held Billy captive. A pounding chest felt like chains, and a tight throat stifled his cries for understanding. His mother, always the beacon of love, struggled to keep the hope alive against the backdrop of their meager reality. As family values began to strain, Billy was caught between two worlds, the temptation of riches and the burden of integrity. Standing at the water's edge, he stared into the swirling current that seemed to hold a mirror to his soul. Flecks of light danced on the surface as if the water itself whispered encouragement. The decision he faced wasn't simple, it was monumental. Would he be swallowed by the desires of the heart or rise to confront the bitter truths of his town? As anticipation thickened the air, Billy took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the community entwined with his own. The choice ahead of him would not just define his character, it could reshape the entire essence of who they were as a family and as a town. With the weight of everyone's expectations pressing down like the summer sun, he stood on the precipice of change, ready to leap into the unknown. Billy stood there, the creek gurgling softly as though the water itself was urging him to make a choice. He glanced back toward the distant patchwork of fields that stretched out like faded memories. The farm had always been a labor of love, but now it felt more like a prison of despair. His mother's weary smile flashed in his mind, the way her eyes twinkled when they shared a meal together, however meager it was. What would she think if he hoarded this treasure for himself? Would it really solve their problems or just bring more chaos? A sudden rustle broke through his thoughts, and he turned to see Mrs. Jacobs, the town librarian, who had always been kind to him. Her brows furrowed as she approached, her eyes searching his face for answers. "Billy, are you all right?" she asked gently. "I found something." "Something big," he stammered, the weight of his discovery clenching his heart. Mrs. Jacobs' expression shifted from concern to intrigue. What do you mean? Is it about the money? He nodded, but guilt wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. He felt exposed, as if he was standing in front of the whole town under a spotlight. It could change everything for us. But I don't know if it should. She placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Money can't buy happiness, Billy. It can help, but it can also cloud judgment, yours and others. Her words threaded through his heart, lifting the fog just a little. Billy watched her as she surveyed the water, lost in thought. When you find something that could change lives, you have the power to really make a difference. Just promise me you'll think carefully about what you choose. As Mrs. Jacobs walked away, her words echoed in his mind. Change lives. Did she mean his, or the entire town's? The thought spiraled in his head. That night, sleep eluded him. The stars twinkled like shards of glass against the blackness, yet his heart felt heavy. He lay in his bed, the coldness of his room mingling with the warmth of dreams. He could imagine a future where his mother wouldn't have to worry about bills or where the next meal would come from. But in that shimmering vision, he also saw the faces of the townsfolk, some smiling, others glaring, a mix of gratitude and resentment reflecting back at him. He remembered the bracelet he'd found. Its delicate engravings told a story, but now it felt like a tether. Was he destined to be the town's prodigal son or just a pawn in their game of opinions? The line blurred, leaving him wondering whom he really worked for in this narrative. By dawn, the first light of morning broke through his window, casting golden rays across the room. Billy rose, a new resolve forming in his chest. He would return to the creek, to that place of discovery and turmoil. But before he left, he needed to talk to his mother. She deserved to know everything, the burden he carried and the gift they had found together. As he moved to her bedroom, heart pounding in anticipation, something shifted in his chest. A clarity began to bloom. But would she agree? Was he ready to face her reaction, and that of the townsfolk? With that thought swirling in his mind, he reached out for the handle, but a knock at the door made him freeze. Who could it be this early? He took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever awaited him on the other side. Little did he know, this moment would change everything. Billy stood frozen at the door, his heart racing. Each knock sent ripples through his certainty, and he swallowed hard against the tightness in his throat. Who could be visiting them at this hour? Pressing his ear against the door, he caught snippets of conversation. Voices murmured outside, low and urgent. He turned back for a moment, glancing at his mother, still asleep. She looked peaceful, unaware of the storm brewing outside. He felt a pang of guilt. Should he wake her? Should he share everything now or wait? Another knock jolted him, snapping his focus back to the door. This time, he opened it cautiously, revealing the familiar faces of Tom and Lisa, two of his closest friends from town. Their faces were flushed, eyes bright with a mix of excitement and concern. Billy. You have to come quick. It's happening. Tom blurted, the urgency in his voice matching the rhythm of Billy's racing heart. What is going on? Billy asked, his thoughts swirling. The creek, his mother, the bracelet all teetering on the edge of his mind. Everyone is talking about the money. They think someone found it, like really found it. Lisa added, her voice a mixture of delight and disbelief. He felt the walls of his small world closing in, and those words hit him hard. Could it be that the whispers were about his discovery? A rush of fear and pride mixed inside him. Did the news about the money already spread through the town like wildfire? But he started, unease making his words stumble. Come on, Billy. You've got to see. Tom grabbed his arm, pulling him out of his moment of hesitation. Looking back at his mother one last time, he made the choice to step outside into the unknown. The sun was brighter outside, piercing through the morning haze as he followed his friends down the dirt path. The streets buzzed with townsfolk gathering near the old oak tree, where whispers twisted in the air like smoke. Billy's heart thumped in his chest. With every step, He thought about what he had found, the secrets it held, and how fragile this moment felt. As they joined the crowd, he caught snippets of conversation floating around him. "I heard it's in the creek. No way did anyone actually find it. Can you imagine what it would mean?" Each word stung. They thought it was just a treasure, something shiny. They didn't understand the weight he carried. Billy's mind raced as faces turned toward him. Curious, expectant eyes, some lit with hope, others veiled in skepticism. He could feel the tension in the air, as if a rubber band was pulled tight, ready to snap. Would they look to him for answers? Would they demand he share what they believed he had? The knot in his stomach twisted as he thought of the bracelet, its engravings full of stories waiting to be shared. Did the townsfolk even consider the lives it could change? He had the power to help, but with great power came great consequences. What if he was wrong? What if this brought more harm than good? Suddenly, Mrs. Jacobs emerged from the crowd, her eyes locking onto Billy's with an intensity that made him feel both seen and scrutinized. "Billy," her voice cut through the buzz. The crowd fell quiet, all eyes drawn to him. "Are you the one?" she asked, and the whole town seemed to hold its breath. He stood there, caught in the whirlwind of expectations and fear, wrestling with the enormity of what lay ahead. Could he be brave enough to answer? Would choosing to reveal the truth bind him closer to the people he loved or tear them apart? With that moment of decision hanging in the air, he took a deep breath, preparing to speak, but the ground shook, and a low rumble echoed through the street. Something much bigger than his choices was about to unfold. The rumble grew louder, shaking the leaves in the trees, making the crowd shift uncomfortably. Billy's heart raced faster than before, the uncertainty coursing through him like electricity. He stumbled backward, bumping into Tom, who steadied him with a firm grip. "What is going on?" Tom shouted above the noise, but Billy couldn't form a response. All he could think about was the bracelet, a trinket from the creek, and how it had brought him to this moment of reckoning. The rumble silenced the murmurs, and the voices of the townsfolk turned to confusion. Faces twisted in alarm, and a chorus of "What was that?" rippled through the crowd. Billy glanced around and noticed Mrs. Jacobs still staring at him, her brows furrowed in trepidation. Suddenly, a burst of earth from the ground near the old oak tree sent dirt flying through the air. People screamed and instinctively backed away. Billy struggled to focus, caught between running home to protect his mother and staying rooted to the spot, the weight of expectation pressing heavily on his chest. What if that was the money? What if he let fear grip him and he missed out on a chance to change everything? He thought about the stories his mother told him about fortunes lost and found, about struggles that shaped the very fabric of their lives. In that moment, as the ground opened wider, a flash of something shiny caught Billy's eye. It glinted, as though it were beckoning him closer. His feet moved before he could think, pulling him towards the disturbance. The crowd was in chaos, but he felt drawn to the spectacle. "Billy! What are you doing?" Lisa called after him. Ignoring her voice, he stepped forward, heart pounding in his ears, until he reached the edge of the new opening in the earth. He crouched low, peering into the dark crevice that had formed beneath the oak tree. There, half buried under roots and soil, lay something unmistakably gleaming. It wasn't just gold or silver, it was a piece of his history. An intricate bracelet, similar to the one he had found in the creek, a family artifact, lost for generations. The engravings whispered of tales long forgotten. Billy felt a connection, a tugging of something deeper than mere treasure. This was about his family's legacy, a bridge to past struggles and their perseverance. His breath caught in his throat as the first realization settled in. This was more than a fortune. It was hope. As whispers turned to hushed gasps, he lifted the bracelet from the earth, its weight feeling heavy with possibility. "This belongs to me," he managed to say, his voice trembling yet resolute. "I don't know what it means yet, but I'll find out." Mrs. Jacobs watched him with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the chaos. "You're not just one of us, Billy," she said softly. "You're meant for something greater." The crowd began to buzz again, more aggressive now, eyes wide with curiosity, speculation, and jealousy. Billy felt the pull of their expectations mixed with his own fears. What if he was wrong? What could this mean for his family? For the town? Billy. Are you all right? Tom reached for him, concern etched on his face as the crowd jostled around them, craving answers, wanting to know more. Billy clutched the bracelet tighter, making a vow in his heart. I will get to the bottom of this, he said firmly, though uncertainty still gnawed at him. He could sense that the tremors were just beginning, not only beneath the surface but also within his own life. With the burden of choices looming overhead, he locked eyes with his friends, reminding himself that he wasn't facing this alone. Together, they could uncover the reality behind the discovery. But as they stepped back into the uncertain whirlwind of the town's expectations, another tremor echoed in the distance, hinting that this was just the beginning of a far larger upheaval. Billy's mind raced in tandem with the turmoil around him. The weight of the bracelet was more than just metal, it felt like the responsibility of the town's hopes resting on his small shoulders. He looked back at the crowd, their faces a mix of awe and envy. Whispers floated through the air as people exchanged glances, assessing one another, sizing up who might take the next step towards a different life. What are you going to do now? Lisa's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and urgent. She stepped closer, eyes wide with concern. Billy swallowed hard. I need to find out where this came from. It must have a story. He looked around, searching for something, or someone, that could help him understand. Be careful, Billy, Tom warned. This might not be what you think. Billy felt a swell of determination rise within him. Maybe it wasn't just about the bracelet. Maybe this was about facing fears, about stepping into the unknown. With one last glance at his friends, he steeled himself. I'm ready. He took a few steps away from the tree, the crowd parting slightly, holding its collective breath. That was when the ground shook once more, a shuddering that felt closer, more ominous. Something deeper than the earth was shifting, and Billy could feel every heartbeat echo in his ears. Stay back. A voice shouted from within the crowd. It was old Mr. Hargrove, his face strained, eyes darting around apprehensively. People began to murmur again, a question of safety raising its head amidst their curiosity. Billy took a step back, uncertain. What's happening? There's more buried here than just that trinket, Mr. Hargrove warned, a note of seriousness that silenced the crowd. I've seen this before. It's the sign of an old curse. A hush fell over the spectators. The word curse raised the tension in the air, their imaginations running wild. Billy felt a chill run down his spine. Could there really be a curse tied to his discovery? Was it possible that his family's legacy held darker secrets? Determination flared inside him again, mingled now with a twisting fear. It doesn't matter. I have to know. Billy shouted, surprising himself with his fierce resolve. The bracelet, even if burdened with shadows from the past, was part of him now. It was his history, a connection to his ancestors, and he wouldn't be dissuaded. As he moved away from the crowd, he caught the glint of more earth shifting near the oak tree. A small group of townsfolk had gathered, and their faces mirrored his growing curiosity. What lay beneath the surface? What other remnants of history were waiting to be uncovered? The ground trembled yet again, this time more violently. Billy stumbled, catching himself against an old fence post. The chaos surged as the crowd began to panic, scattering like leaves caught in a strong wind. But in the frenzy, he noticed one thing: Mrs. Jacobs remained still, her steady gaze showed a confidence that emboldened him. Billy. She called out, there's a reason you found that bracelet. A reason beyond luck. You're meant to understand. The energy in the air thickened. Billy felt as if the earth beneath him was alive, trying to share its secrets, urging him to uncover the truth that lingered just out of reach. With the pulse of uncertainty driving him forward, he thought about the stories his mother had shared. Tales of heritage filled with bravery and hardship, stories of his bloodline that begged to be known. As the tremor settled, he drew a deep breath, feeling a sense of purpose settle in his chest. He stepped forward into the heart of it all, the chaos fading around him. Somehow, he knew this was just the beginning. What awaited him below? The thought clung to him like a shadow, urging him to find out more. And as the crowd quieted, the anticipation hummed through the air, a new tremor echoed nearby. Something else was stirring beneath the surface. Would it bring answers or complications? Billy took a breath, steeling himself as he approached the old oak tree. His heart raced, not just from fear, but from exhilaration. The ground, alive with energy, pulsed beneath his feet like the heartbeat of the town itself. Each tremor seemed to beckon him closer, promising revelations wrapped in mystery. "See on, Billy. We can't stand here." Lisa's voice broke through the haze of determination. She tugged at his shirt, her worry evident. "What if something dangerous is buried down there? We should go." He turned to look at her, the intensity of her gaze grounding him. "But what if this leads to something important? To answers we need?" The bracelet dangled at his wrist, glinting in the evening light like a beacon. He could feel its weight heavy with history and responsibility. The earth rumbled once more, and the crowd shifted nervously. Billy saw the fear flicker in the faces surrounding him, yet a spark of courage ignited in his chest. He shook off Lisa's hand gently. "I have to do this. I need to know why this is happening." Mrs. Jacobs stepped closer, her eyes shimmering with reflected enthusiasm. "This town has hidden truths, Billy. You felt its pull for a reason. Whatever lies beneath, you're meant to find it." He nodded, emboldened. Stepping closer to the oak, he crouched down, dirt and roots brushing against his fingers. The air was thick, alive with anticipation. With scrappy determination, he began to dig, his fingers clawing at the earth, revealing dark, cool soil. Each handful of dirt removed felt like an unveiling. What stories lay hidden beneath all of it waiting just for him? His heart thudded as his fingers hit something hard. He paused, breath hitching in his throat, hoping he was ready for whatever it might be. He cleared more dirt away, revealing what seemed like a wooden box. Shiny and old, it glimmered faintly under the fading light, a sense of permanence amidst the chaos around him. "Billy! Be careful!" Tom shouted from the sidelines, his voice anxious and filled with urgency. Ignoring the rising tide of worry from his friends, he lifted the box free from its earthly prison. It felt heavy yet fragile in his hands. A sense of destiny trembled in his fingers. This was it, what they had all been waiting for. He brushed off layers of dirt and debris, his heart racing as he examined the intricate details of the box. Was it indeed a treasure? Or something more sinister? Mrs. Jacobs stepped forward, pushing her way through the crowd. "Open it, dear. We need to know." Her eyes shone with anticipation, and her voice held a tremor, an echo of the town's hopes resting on this moment. Billy could feel the weight of the crowd behind him. Voices pressed in, filled with both excitement and dread. With a deep breath, he pried open the creaky lid, anticipation tightening around him like a vice. Inside, nestled within faded velvet, was a collection of old maps, coins, and colorful gemstones, the likes he had never seen. The crowd gasped collectively, voices raised in disbelief. An inheritance from a lifelong past, now revealed to his very fingertips, but as he gazed down, an unsettling feeling crept along his spine. What if this wealth wasn't just a fortune? What if it carried the curse Mr. Hargrove had warned about? Unease tangled with wonder in his mind. The bracelet felt hot against his skin, a reminder of his connection to whatever this was. Billy lifted his gaze, meeting the anxious eyes of his friends, mixed emotions swirling around him. Should he rejoice in this discovery or fear its implications? What was this treasure going to mean for their town? The silence around him filled with unease as the weight of choices pressed down, and then, the ground trembled again, a more powerful quake this time, shaking the very essence of what they now dared to uncover. Trees swayed, and the crowd staggered. "What is happening?" Lisa cried out that he didn't know, but one thing was clear, beneath this newfound wealth lay untold secrets. Secrets that could change everything, and he was right in the middle. What would he choose to do next? As the trembling intensified, the shadows of the past and the weight of the present collided, pulling him deeper into a mystery that felt far from over. Would he unlock a fortune, or unleash the darkness hidden behind it? The quake subsided, leaving an eerie hush that hung over the crowd. Billy could hear the thumping of his heart, each beat reverberating like a drum in the quiet. His hands trembled as he clutched the box, feeling the weight of its contents pressing against his chest, but the weight of the moment was heavier still. He could sense the tension radiating from his friends, their uncertain expressions mirroring the turmoil inside him. "Did you see that?" Tom whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Is it going to happen again?" Billy's eyes darted to the trembling ground, sensing the unease creeping back into the air. "It's okay. The shaking has stopped," he said, though he wasn't quite convinced. The treasure felt like a ticking time bomb, and he was the one holding the detonator. Lisa stepped closer, her brows furrowed with concern. "What if we shouldn't have opened it? What if something bad happens?" Those words struck deep. What if the stories about the town's curse were true? He had always brushed them off, but now they wrapped around him like a cold fog. Only moments ago, hope had shone brightly, now it felt overshadowed by the weight of fear. His fingers hesitated above the contents of the box. The coin sparkled under the dim light, and the maps unfolded secrets of the town long forgotten. Yet, the gemstones seemed to glimmer ominously. What if this isn't just treasure? Billy finally voiced, his voice low but firm. What if it's a burden? Mrs. Jacobs folded her hands, her joy fading as she tried to read his expression. "Billy, you found this for a reason. Maybe it's time to uncover what it means for all of us." Her words ignited a flicker of determination within him. "You're right. If this belonged to someone in our town, maybe we need to figure out why they hid it." He couldn't let his fear govern him any longer. But there was a larger truth he needed to confront. What they had uncovered could hold the answers to questions he didn't even know to ask. That he gathered his friends around, urging them to see it his way. "What do you think we should do?" Tom shrugged, peering at the goods. "We could take it to a historian. They'd know what to do with all this stuff." "Yes." Lisa jumped in, her eyes lighting up. "We could learn about the town's past. This could help us understand why the earthquake started. Maybe someone left clues." Uncertainty loomed, yet Billy felt the collective charge of excitement unfolding around him. The fear around what the box contained began to transform into something more tangible. They faced an adventure together, and as he opened the box again for a closer look, the gems flashed like stars igniting in the night sky. Suddenly, a low moan filled the air, growing louder until it enveloped them. The crowd turned, fear etched on every face. Billy felt the air grow thick, saturated with a presence that felt both familiar and unnerving. "Do you feel that?" he gasped. The crowd turned to face the direction of the noise, and an inexplicable energy surged through their midst. Someone shouted, "The tree, it's glowing." Billy spun around to see the oak illuminating with an eerie light. The box slipped from his hands, clattering to the ground as he instinctively raised his arm to shield his eyes from the brightness seeping through the leaves. "What does it mean?" someone cried. His heart raced as the realization washed over him. The treasure was more than mere relics of the past, it was a key. The possibilities unfurled like the maps within the box, each one holding a thread that connected to the tree, to the earthquakes, and to the legacy of their town. They were meant to unveil something far bigger than a hidden fortune, and then the ground seemed to pulse once more, but this time, not as a quake. Instead, it reverberated with an invitation and urging to dig deeper, to uncover what had long been buried beneath their feet. And as the shimmering light cascaded around him, a question still lingered in the air: what awaited them at the heart of the discovery? With every breath, Billy felt the tether of destiny pulling him closer to an answer. But Would he be ready to face whatever lay hidden behind the glow? Billy stood frozen, his young mind racing as the glow from the tree expanded, casting eerie shadows around them. It was as if the oak was alive, pulsating with energy, beckoning them closer. He swallowed hard, glancing at Tom and Lisa, who wore expressions of both awe and trepidation. "Should we get closer?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Billy nodded slowly, urging his legs to move as he stepped toward the tree. The air around them buzzed with an electric sensation, and he could feel it in his bones, a charge that pulled him forward. The crowd slowly shifted as a collective curiosity took over, inching closer to the magnificent oak. "What if this is the heart of it?" Tom interjected, his eyes wide. "What if this has something to do with the treasure?" Billy paused, recalling the maps inside the box. They had spoken of landmarks, hidden trails, and stories of those who lived centuries ago. He turned back toward the box, still lying discarded on the ground, its contents enticing but daunting. Before he could reach for it, the glowing intensified, and a voice broke through the hush. "Children! Gather around." It was Mrs. Jacobs, her frail figure bathed in light, as though she was part of some ancient story. "This tree holds the wisdom of our ancestors, and it seems it has chosen you." "Chosen us for what?" Billy blurted out, the question escaping his lips before he could think. "Only it knows. But the connection between what you found and this tree is what you must explore," she replied with an enigmatic smile, her eyes twinkling like the gemstones around them. A wave of determination washed over him. As fear began to fade, a sense of purpose surged. If they had unearthed a part of their town's history, then surely they owed it to themselves and to those who came before to understand it completely. As the crowd settled into a hushed anticipation, Billy approached the tree, trying to decipher its glowing warmth. He reached a trembling hand to touch the bark, feeling the rough texture, the pulse of energy coursing beneath it. It was as if the tree itself was urging him to listen, to learn the secrets held tightly in its embrace. Suddenly, a gust of wind whipped through the clearing, rustling the leaves with a sound like whispered voices. Everyone jumped, stepping back. "What was that?" Someone gasped, eyes darting around. "That came from the tree," Lisa exclaimed. "What if it's trying to tell us something?" "Then let us figure it out," Billy decided, heart pounding with excitement. "We have to take the box back and study everything we found. There has to be a connection." He gathered his trembling friends, who rallied behind him. They bent down together, carefully lifting the box back into Billy's grasp, its weight feeling lighter somehow. "Are we really doing this?" Tom asked, the uncertainty still flickering in his eyes. "Together," Billy affirmed. "Whatever lies ahead, we face it together." With renewed determination, they turned their backs to the glowing tree, feet moving toward the path that led them home. The compactness of their bond felt solid, anchored by the mystery and revelations yet to come. Billy couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Suddenly, as they reached the edge of the forest, the ground trembled again, this time not from an earthquake but like a heartbeat of its own. An unsettling realization crept over him. "What if we don't have time?" he murmured, the urgency catching in his throat. As the tremor settled into silence, another thought flickered through his mind. What if the treasures they had uncovered were only the surface of something much deeper? What awaited them when they finally unraveled the mystery? Billy and his friends hurried down the winding path, the weight of the box in his arms feeling both heavy and exhilarating. Each step seemed to echo the tremors they had just felt, sending a shiver down his spine. He could feel the urgency buzzing between them, a shared determination that ignited their spirits. Lisa was the first to break the silence. "What do you think the tree wants us to do?" Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, but there was an undercurrent of anxiety in her voice. "Maybe it's a sign," Tom suggested, glancing at the box. "A sign that we're meant to find what's hidden." "But what if we're not ready for it?" Billy met Tom's gaze and felt the weight of his words settle between them like an anchor. "We will be. We can't turn back now. There's too much at stake, he replied, the conviction tightening in his throat. It was as if he could almost hear the tree whispering, urging them onward. Reaching the edge of the clearing, they paused. The sunlight dimmed as dark clouds began to loom above, a sudden shift that felt ominous. The air grew thick, heavy with an impending storm. "Billy, look!" Lisa pointed toward the distant horizon where jagged peaks rose against the sky, dark silhouettes looming like ancient guardians. They marveled at the sight, feeling both small and significant at the same time. "Those mountains, they were mentioned in our maps," Billy said, recalling one of the landmarks. "If the treasure is tied to the tree, it might lead us there." "Then what are we waiting for?" Lisa's enthusiasm returned, her earlier doubts washed away with her growing excitement. They resumed their journey, quickening their pace. The path twisted and turned, the trees towering above, branches clawing at the growing darkness. With each footstep, the scent of pine mingled with the distant rumble of thunder, stoking the fire of anticipation deep in their hearts. As they neared the entrance to the town, they spotted a familiar figure leaning against the old stone wall. It was Mr. Davis, the local historian. His brows furrowed, he looked up, sensing the urgency in their hurried footsteps. "What have you found?" he asked, his eyes narrowing with curiosity. Billy didn't hesitate. "We discovered a box filled with old maps and a glowing tree. Mrs. Jacobs said it was chosen for us to unravel its secrets." Mr. Davis's expression shifted from curiosity to intrigue. "The tree, it's older than your town itself. Legend has it that it protects something sacred, something that belongs to its rightful heirs. What do we have to do?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Follow what the tree tells you. Listen closely, and it may lead you to what was lost," Mr. Davis replied, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial level. "But be wary, children. Not all secrets are meant to be uncovered." A chill ran through Billy as he met Mr. Davis's intense gaze. "We can't back down," he said, a nervous energy coursing through him. "We owe it to those who came before us and to ourselves." With a final nod from Mr. Davis, they rushed forward, hearts racing. Shadows danced around them, the weight of the unknown pressing down like a heavy shroud. As they reached the outskirts of town, lightning flashed in the sky, illuminating the path ahead. Billy realized this was more than just an adventure, it was a quest for truth, for connection, perhaps even for redemption. "What if we find something that changes everything?" Lisa breathed, eyes wide with hope. "Then we face it together," Billy replied, feeling more certain than ever about their bond. The storm broke loose, rain pouring down as they dashed into the heart of the town. In that moment, with the storm raging around them, Billy understood the journey wasn't just about unearthing treasure. It was a quest to discover who they truly were and who they were destined to become. But what if, in their search for the past, they unearthed something far more powerful and dangerous? Billy squinted against the pouring rain as he hurried with his friends into the heart of the town, adrenaline mixing with determination. The storm raged, but nothing could quench the fire bubbling within him. He felt their spirits intertwined, a shared bond and a fervor to uncover the secrets buried beneath their feet. They reached the old library where Mrs. Jacobs sought refuge from the rain. She was pacing, her eyes cluttered with the fierce glimmer of realization. When she caught sight of the drenched kids, energy shifted, the air almost crackled. "You found something more than treasure, didn't you?" Billy felt the weight of the box in his backpack. "It's more than gems and coins, it's a legacy tied to our town," he said, pulling it out, feeling the warmth amid the torrential downpour. "It's a key, a connection to what we've lost." The storm seemed to pause as she leaned in closer, gripping the edge of the table. "Then it's time we unveil the truth. What does it say?" Billy opened the box, revealing the aged maps and shimmering gemstones. He scattered the contents on the table. Eager hands reached for the old maps, eyes shining with anticipation. Each line marked a history once ignored, the whispers of people who once called this land home. Tom's finger traced a line on one of the maps. This landmark, it's near the mountains. We need to go back to the tree. His excitement was palpable. Lisa nodded, her spirit alight with purpose. Yes. We can use what we found to explore and maybe even connect deeper with the legends of the tree. Suddenly, the old librarian took a step back, her expression shifting to a mix of caution and excitement. Billy, remember the curse. Each treasure comes with a weight of responsibility. You can't rush into this. He understood her concern, but he couldn't shake the urgency thrumming in his veins. We owe it to our ancestors, and to ourselves. If the tree chose us, it means we can change something hurtful into hope. A moment hung, fragile and tense. Then Mrs. Jacobs stepped forward, her voice a soft anchor. Then let us prepare wisely. Knowledge is the greatest treasure you can find. With newfound resolve, Billy and his friends set off before the storm could strengthen. They trekked toward the glowing tree, a beacon of their shared past wrapped in mystery. The rain fell like a curtain, making the world shimmer in shades of gray and green. As they approached the oak, the tranquil light flickered, casting shadows around them as if it sought to cocoon them in warmth. Together, they circled the tree, their fingers brushing against the textured bark, feeling its pulse as if it bore the heartbeats of lifetimes. We need to focus, Billy said, feeling the excitement and urgency from within. Let us see if the maps lead us to new discoveries. Throwing aside the map spread like petals at their feet, they found locations outlined, routes drawn, each a breadcrumb leading towards their heritage. With each step deeper into the forest, bolts of lightning illuminated the trees, making the path pulse with life. They soon arrived at a hidden clearing within the mountains. The old oak was there, and beneath it, the earth rippled like waves, calling to them. Something is here. Tom exclaimed, rushing to the spot where the ground trembled beneath their feet. Billy nodded, heart racing. The series of tremors seemed to be a beckoning, the call of something lost but yearning to find its way home. They dug together, hearts racing, hands trembling as they scraped away dirt and debris. Seconds felt like hours, then, they caught a gleam like starlight trapped under the earth. With one final pull, they unearthed an object wrapped in a cloth, pulsating with energy. Billy's hands shook as he unfurled it. It revealed an ancient amulet featuring the same engravings as the bracelet. Billy, that's it. Lisa gasped. The amulet. It's a part of the enchantment. He examined it closely, feeling the warmth radiate as if it recognized him. This must be the other half. We need to take it back to the tree. As they turned to retrace their steps, another low rumble enveloped them. It was a reminder, a clash of excitement and fear coursing through the air. Together. We must go back. Billy called out, leading his friends toward the tree, determination coursing through them. The tree loomed ahead, incandescent, inviting them into its embrace. Layers of mystery peeled away as they placed the amulet beside the glowing bracelet. In that moment, energy surged, an overwhelming light enveloping them, and through the brightness, echoes of the past began to unfold. Memories wrapped in warmth and laughter surged, the weight of the past mingling with the hope for their future. And as they stood, united before the tree, Billy whispered, This is the change we were meant to make." Hope blossomed around them, roots intertwining, as the echoes of their ancestors whispered through the branches, celebrating the legacy that would illuminate their path forward. With hearts full, they had forged a link between past and present. Billy grinned. They weren't just seekers of treasure. They were guardians of a future now painted in the hues of understanding, and as the storm passed, leaving golden rays of sun streaming through, he felt hope unfurl. They had faced the shadows and transformed into beacons of light, ready to guide their town into a brighter tomorrow. So now, the adventure truly began. You need to subscribe now. This story is just the beginning, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Your love helps shine a light on these incredible tales. Comment below and share your thoughts. We want to hear your feelings about the ending and this massive transformation, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story. True fans like you know the importance of spreading the word.